Yo, what is going on, guys and gals? It's your boy Topher here, and today we're going to be starting something a little bit different. I'm actually going to be starting a series called Late Life Tech, and today we are going to be going over the PSTV. Now, the PSTV is kind of like a strange device by PlayStation, Sony, of course. Plays a lot of PS Vita, not PSP games unless you download them from the internet. Basically, the device is pretty simple, black with the PlayStation symbol on the front. The little Sony insignia on the front as well. You can't really see it because it's not on now, but the little light would typically be right here when it's turned on. Memory card stick, which I'll get to that later. USB and HDMI cable for connection, Ethernet, and a little 5 volt. Wait a minute, I think it's 5 volt. Yep, 5 volt power supply. Now, this was the purchase that I made basically because a few years ago I had a PS Vita. I never played like PSP, I never had one, so I always wanted to play, for example, Final Fantasy Crisis Core with Zach. And I was like, all right, well, I wonder if the PS Vita can play that because PSPs weren't really a thing around then. This was like 2011, 2012. No, it was like 2014. My bad. So basically, I was like, all right, what's this thing? Got the Vita instead and purchased that, got a couple games on it, and I think I ended up playing Crisis Core. I want to say I did. I think I downloaded it as like a PS3 purchase or something like that. They're really weird about that kind of stuff that you can do on these things. But essentially, I got to play that for a little bit. I really liked it, but at the end of the day, the Vita wasn't really for me. I wasn't the biggest fan of it, if I'm being completely honest. Around 2017, I played Persona 5, which I ended up falling in love with. Because I've heard of the Persona series before, which I've heard is a really good, JRPG, and I never had a chance to play it. So I, with the hype of Persona 5 when it originally came out, got to play that. I put about 100 hours and some change into it, beat it, played it for like a week straight, and was obsessed with it for like a year afterwards. So I decided, well, let me delve into some of the other, things, other games, which ended up leading me into getting Persona 4, Golden, which was a great game, love that. But, before I got Persona 4, of course, I was like, well, what am I going to play it on? I don't feel like buying another Vita. Those are kind of expensive. So I bought a PSTV. I looked up and found that you can kind of use it as its kind of own gaming system type of thing, but you can also remote play on PS4, which I'll get into a little bit later. Essentially, I get this and I play Persona 4. I'm obsessed. I'm hooked. I play the rest of the Persona series. But that's not what this video is about. Basically, the PSTV ended up being really clutch for me and was really cool because I didn't ever play Persona before 5, so I wouldn't have Persona 4 on PS2. Didn't have access to a Vita at the time. I didn't have the money to buy another $200-$300 Vita, so the PSTV really helped me out. Now, this video, I'm going to go over some of the pros and cons that I have, dealt with, and the reason I'm making this video now is because, well, video is late life tech, and this is way past the heyday of the PSTV. Essentially, PSTV was touted as this kind of like remote system for the PlayStation. Essentially, it ended up being a big push for their PlayStation Now service that they, came out with, which is a really great service for people to play older games, PS2 games, PS3 games, if you never had the chance to play them. But if you did, it doesn't really hit the mark. It's not really that fun. Had a friend of mine who was off work, didn't do anything for basically a year on an injury, and basically from regular games went to PS Now, and said he liked it, but I don't think he would subscribe regularly to it. So some of the pros that I thought about the PS Vita, other than it obviously introducing me to Persona, basically you get to play Vita games without paying the Vita price, like I was saying earlier, and some PSP, PS3, they downloadable available games, I guess you could say. It has compatibility with both the DualShock 4s and the 3s, of course. The 3 is kind of what it comes bundled with sometimes, but the 4 is nice because it's a little sleeker, a little nicer to play with. Most DualShock 3s you'll get nowadays, the rubber on the thumb grips has kind of worn down, or if you have one and you've had it for years like me, they wear down or get really sticky, which is kind of annoying. DS4s haven't done that yet. Another thing is, obviously, Persona 4. You get to play a lot of games that you wouldn't have played otherwise if you're like me and you kind of switched back and forth from gaming systems a lot. PS4 remote play, if that's your kind of thing, or if you have, kids in a house and you want them to kind of hang out in one room, and you're a parent who wants to hang out in the main room with your family or something, and you want to listen to some music or something, or if you're just like bedridden, if you get injured or something and you want to hang out in your room and play your PlayStation, but you don't want to kind of have it all lugged in there and you don't want to do that yourself. If you have a TV in there, perfect for you. The cool thing about that too is now it's kind of like a backwards thing. PlayStation has the Remote Play app now that you can just use on a computer, but if you didn't at the time, I guess, feel like doing that, PSTV was a nice, compatible type of thing. Or if you just have a desktop and you don't feel like lugging that into your bedroom, PSTV is a perfect kind of in between. Some of the cons that I've found in the years that I've had it, and one of my biggest gripes, is basically it's constantly blocking the signal if you try to hook it up to an Elgato or a game recorder, if you try to hook up to your TV to record and stream on Twitch or anything. Things that are kind of baked in now to the PlayStation experience, Xbox, etc. You, no way, no how can you stream off of it, record it, whatever, unless you're doing just remote play for normal, PlayStation stuff, meaning you're remote playing and you consider that streaming from your PS4 to your PSTV. That's streaming in-home, like from system to system is fine, but I'm talking Twitch, YouTube, whatever. No type of streaming whatsoever, which really sucks because this is a device I actually kind of enjoy. And like I was saying, I'm not going to play Persona 4 on my PS4. I don't think they're going to re-release the Persona series for that. I don't think Atlus does that kind of thing, but like I said, I'm not going to talk about that or them. Just it's some companies don't do that. Some companies aren't going to re-release it on the PS4 store because they have other things they're working on. They're just a good example. But basically, it just really sucks because I wanted to stream and I really wanted to go on Twitch because, everybody's playing Final Fantasy VII as of the recording of this video. I played it, I loved it, but I don't want to stream it because I don't have that big of a following. So I was like, well, let me do something a little different. Persona 5 The Royal came out, I want to get that, but I don't want to spend $60 on it right now. Let me, stream off Persona 2 because I was able to get that, loaded onto my PSTV, which was great. And I started up and I was like, you know what, let me save this for streaming. I buy a little adapter. Basically, I read online somewhere that you can get an HDMI splitter. If you split it from the PSTV to the splitter, then to the Elgato, then to your screen, computer, whatever, then it'll work. Not the case. Doesn't work at all. If you're looking to do that whatsoever, I guess I'll tag this in the comment, well, not a comment, but in the description somehow. Doesn't work that way whatsoever. Just a disclaimer. Basically, you want to do anything like that, you're going to have to take a camera, record it yourself, and cut your audio out somehow. I don't know how you're going to do that. But one other of the biggest complaints that most people had about it were the memory cards. And I vaguely remember when I purchased this, that being an issue because it says it uses the memory cards from the Vitas. Those were expensive. And they still are. They always will be because it's a niche product that Sony doesn't really probably produce that much anymore, or PlayStation, or whatever you want to call it. It's a product that they kind of left behind because the Vita didn't do too well. I mean, if it released back then with PS4 graphics, a lot of people say it would have gone crazy. It would have done crazy numbers. Outdone the DS probably, which is also a good device. But because it was so expensive and the memory was so expensive, it was a bad time. Basically, memory cards are expensive and they suck on purpose. You try to hook a USB into the USB slot in the back, doesn't work. You have to hack it so that you can use that kind of stuff. And the alternative for that is getting a memory card, which I have. I'm about to return it. I didn't know it worked this way. Basically, the size of your Vita game they make a shell of it, and you can put you want a micro SD card in there, and then pop that into the side. And I thought, well, that's a great alternative. One, I didn't know it popped into the side where the games go. I thought it went where that memory card slot went. I was like, this shape looks weird on the Amazon description, but I'm like, this should fit. I plug it in. I'm like, this is obviously too big, so I go and I'm like, oh, okay, it goes into the game slot. I'm like, all right, this is a little bit of a bummer, but if this can kind of plug and play, I'm all for it. I'll just, Persona 4 is usually, and that's the only PS Vita game I still have. I'll pop that out when I'm not playing it, play all my other games, and have the save data on there. Well, I hate to break your bubble or burst your bubble. It doesn't work that way. Not a surprise. So, returning that sucks too. Basically, to get the full benefits of the device or the full benefits of what you would want it to do, especially now in 2020. This is like an almost 10-year-old device, I get that, but you basically have to hack it, and hacking it is also overly complicated, something you're not going to want to do. You have to download like 5 or 6 files for one method that I looked up. Another one, you have to access this web page from the Vita, which seems great, but I updated mine, so you can't access that web page and kind of have a workaround. And all the other ones, I'm assuming, are the same as the first. You kind of have to have knowledge on how emulators work, which I can get one working, but I really don't understand them like that. So that's another con. Then even like simple things on it, mind you, I like this device. I don't regret this purchase. One, because it was like 50-60 bucks at the time. Two, because it got me to play one of the greatest games I've ever played. But there's like a lot of hard things. It's a hard sell. The device, even like the connection sucks. I think the Wi-Fi might be better than the Ethernet port that I showed you guys earlier, because I connected on Ethernet constantly and I just have the slowest download speeds. Now, it might be because the user interface is based off of the Vita, but even then it seemed faster when I had it. I mean, shitty Wi-Fi connections seem like they work better, but this thing, it's just ridiculously slow. I got like 16 megabytes per second and my speed in my house is at least 600. Like, it's ridiculous. So that, along with the fact that PS Now was one of the bigger selling points on it, one of the main things they wanted you to use was PS Now. Like, I'm 100% sure that if I went on to look for a bunch of like random games, like probably not Persona 2 or Persona, any of the old ones except for like 3 and 4, I wouldn't find them. But like most other games, I'd probably find on PS Now, because they're really trying to push you to get that subscription service. But as you can tell, it didn't really do very well. So they still have it as an option, but it's not really the biggest thing on it anymore on PlayStation. They're kind of just focusing on the games they're coming out with now. But, I mean, even with all those bad things I said, I still think the device is pretty decent. It does what you need it to do. It works pretty well. I mean, I have no complaints other than the, I guess, like, random stuff I was trying to do with it. And the device itself is compact, easy to use. It's not expensive. I mean, the memory card costs almost as much, if not more, than the price at regular retail price. I mean, memory cards, like 16 gigs is like 30-40 bucks or something like that. They really hiked the price up for those. And the device itself costed me like 60-70 bucks maybe. Like, it's ridiculous, the price differences on that kind of thing. So, if you're looking for something to kind of play certain specific games and you don't want to buy a Vita, but you can get the cartridge for the game you want, as long as memory is not going to be a problem, because it only comes with 1 gigabyte. As long as moving memory over or something like that, like, because a lot of games now have on disk and then on system memory. As long as you can figure out the game you want and that's not going to be an issue, I say it's decent to have. But for late life tech like this, it was great for the time, but I don't think it's going to age too well. Mind you, I might try and find a way to kind of work around it. I don't really like hacking my devices or anything like that. I know it unlocks a lot of potential, but I really don't feel like hacking it to get it to play a game that's already on it, or to get it to have more memory like it should. So I might just, bite the bullet and buy a memory card for it so I can download a few things, but I don't think I'm going to get a lot of mileage out of it. Other than that, if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you like what I'm doing. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.